There's a full moon in happy Sagittarius, but unfortunately it may be overshadowed by some of the other energies in this chart. Neptune is at 29 Pisces and Jupiter is conjunct Venus at 29 Taurus. 29 degrees is a critical degree, and that means that the volume is turned up to 11. What does that mean for you? That's what we're going to talk about. Hi everyone, I'm Donna Stellhorn, your practical astrologer, and today we are talking about the full moon. It's on May 23rd. It's at 2 degrees of Sagittarius. We're going to do a short overview and then we're going to go sign by sign. So the full moon is the culmination of energies, and that all began on the new moon. So the new moon is where you have the idea, and then that moves to the crescent moon, which is the struggle within yourself to see if you feel like you deserve it or that you're capable of doing it. And then it moves to the first quarter, which is you against the world, where you're trying to push your idea out into the world. And then comes the gibbous moon, and that is where you're collecting information or you're putting things in place for the big full moon event. And then finally comes the full moon, the culmination of the energies. Now, on this particular full moon, there are 3 planets at 29 degrees, and 29 degrees is a critical degree. So there's 30 degrees in each sign, and we number them from 0 to 29. And so when something's at 29 degrees, it's at a critical degree. There are other critical degrees, which we will talk about in other videos. In this particular chart, there are 3 planets at 29 degrees, and that's pretty significant. So what does a 29 degree planet feel like? Well, it's kind of like doing everyday ordinary things, but you're at the Olympics. So it's like if you run 100 yards to catch a bus versus running 100 yards because you're in some big race that you spent 5 or 10 years preparing for, and everything is on the line. You're going to win the gold or you're not. So that difference in the pressure, the emotional pressure and the external pressure, is the 29 degrees. So in short, the 29 degree is like the bar exam or your final exams or the final interview in a series of interviews for your dream job. It is where you feel like everything is riding on this particular energy. By the way, if you enjoy content like this, please tell your friends about this channel. Now that's the definition of a 29 degree. And by the way, if you have 29 degrees in your own chart, then you experience this. But of course, if it's in your natal chart, you've had it your entire life. So you're soaking in it. Basically, you already know that energy. And so that's kind of like asking the fish, how's the water? And the fish says, what water? Whether you have 29 degrees in your chart or not, when the 29 degrees shows up in the transit, it ups the volume for all of us. So now that we understand what the 29 degrees is, we need to then add in or overlay the energy of the planets, which in this case is going to be Neptune, Jupiter, and Venus. So Neptune is at 29 degrees of Pisces, and it will be here for a little while. I'll put on the screen how long it's going to be at this critical degree. And so this is the energy about that you're searching for the bigger purpose in all of this. It's about letting go of the attachments that we have to things that are outside of our control, so that we're looking for true joy, and that true joy exists outside of time and space and schedules and paychecks and all of that sort of thing. So there's a critical need right now to focus on what's truly important and to let go of kind of the trappings of just the 3D world that may distract us, but we know deep down is not real for our spiritual growth. And I know that sounds a little vague, but it is Neptune and Pisces. And Neptune can be vague and Pisces can be vague. And so when we put that together and add in a critical degree, we get extra vagueness. Now that's quite different than the Venus and Jupiter at 29 Taurus, because Taurus is very much about the material. It's about what we can touch and what we can possess and what makes us feel comfortable. And so when Jupiter and Venus are at 29 degrees of Taurus, there is such a desire to be comfortable and to not move out of that comfortable space, even if that temporary comfort is causing us bigger stress or bigger suffering or long-term pain. So to have Jupiter conjunct Venus, which is already quite an indulgent combination, at a critical degree, like 29 degrees, we have kind of the mother of all spending sprees. Or it's not just double desserts, it's eating the entire dessert cart. It is a splurge on magnificent proportions. But ultimately, it is that you are so settled into that comfortable spot in the sofa that it feels like it's too much effort to get up, to push yourself out of it. And yet when we do move out of this, that's when we discover that where we were wasn't that comfortable. 29 degrees of Taurus is also the position of a fixed star. So the fixed stars are the stars out in the heavens, and we say that they're fixed even though they're moving, albeit very, very, very slowly. And so this particular degree sits on a fixed star called Alcyone. I'm sure that I'm butchering the name. I'm going to put it on the screen and then you can help me with the pronunciation. So the fixed stars generally are not so positive. There are a few good ones out there, but generally the fixed stars portend some sort of disaster. So this particular fixed star is one of the more difficult fixed stars, and so in all of that comfort and that love of luxury comes a sort of spiritual blindness. And that can cause you to not see that your situation is dangerous, that you are being lured into something that is not in your best interest, and that not in your best interest that can be physically, emotionally, financially, spiritually, or all of the above. And so this is a time where you want to be the most vigilant, and it's a time where you're going to feel like the most sleepy, sort of, I don't really want to pay attention. So, and we're all going to be doing this energy. And so if at some point over the last couple of weeks you have said to yourself, you know what, I'm doing way too much scrolling, or way too much sugar, or I'm not moving enough, or I'm not getting my work done, be really conscious over the next 2 weeks to push yourself out of that situation, to really focus on doing the right thing and keeping your eyes open so that you don't get lured into a longer period of just feeling like you're stuck. And yeah, comfortable but stuck, comfortable but blind to the spiritual or emotional or financial consequences of what you're doing. So the bottom line for this is that what you want to do, what you want to achieve and your goals and all that, take a little bit more effort right now, because the lure of comfort and the lure of distraction is just much stronger. This is the siren call to run your ship into the rocks is just much stronger right now. So in this video, we are doing tropical Western astrology. I recommend that you listen to your rising sign or your ascending sign to get the most accurate predictions. If you don't know your rising sign, I can send you a copy of your chart. There's a link in the description. Now, if you're interested in learning more about your chart, I do readings. There is a link in the description that will take you to my schedule. It'll show you the prices. Once you schedule, I send you an email that has a questionnaire so that I can get the information from you that I need to prepare your charts. It's a live reading by Zoom, and you get a recording, a video recording of the whole reading, and it's focused on your questions, where we're going to go over what you want to know. and I look forward to meeting you. Okay, let's go sign by sign. Okay, Aries, this full moon is very harmonious energy to your own because it's in Sagittarius and it's fire sign just like you are. And so you do have a lot of opportunities that are coming up over this next 2 weeks. But the 29 Taurus and 29 Pisces energy could weigh you down. So this is especially true because the Venus and Jupiter are sitting in your house of money. And so where you may be too complacent or too comfortable is in this area of managing your money or looking for new opportunities to make money. So now the thing that can happen here is also that money can come in, and it can feel like just enough is coming in. And so there's not really the reason to push. So, but if you can let go of complacency, and I think, well, I was listening to Morgan Housel the other day. You know, he does a podcast. He wrote The Psychology of Money. And he said to really be safe, you want to save a little bit more than feels reasonable, or you want to have a surplus of a little bit more than you think you should. And so so even if you have money coming in, even if you have savings, this says just do a little bit more attention to your money or savings or investigation of money opportunities, because that would all benefit you now. In other words, don't get too comfortable when it comes to money. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the sun's making a semi-square to Mars. A semi-square energy means that there's something irritating about it. It's I always picture like dragging a metal box across a metal floor. It just makes that really squeaky sound. And so when it comes to new love relationships, maybe there is the feeling like you should go out with someone, and there's just that feeling like, I really don't want to. And so there's a lot of resistance. Or when you do meet someone, you do feel that it's not quite a match because of that friction or the differences between the two of you. So if you want to just wait, and have your first date outside this 2-week period, I think that might be a good idea. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Venus is making a semi-square to Mars. And so therefore, you're doing that same energy, but in your existing love relationship. And that is something where you can't just put it off for 2 weeks. And so there is something that maybe was a slight irritation before, and now the irritation is growing. And if you can face it and say, let's deal with this, then maybe you head off a bigger problem. So there is something, this might be related to finances, because that's where the Venus is for you. Or it could be something that you feel like you were slighted, or that you're feeling impatient about something with regards to your partner. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Venus at 29 Taurus. And that is that there is a money opportunity there, but it may cause you to compromise something that is bigger or more important. In other words, this is not a time to take the easy way. This is not a time to say, okay, I can get that extra money, but it would involve something that maybe crosses your own boundaries, or is illegal or immoral or unethical or something like that. And you might be saying to yourself, but in these circumstances, it would be okay. It's just, be very careful about doing anything that is outside the lines during this time because of this blindness aspect. And because it's a blindness aspect, you may not even see that, but if it just doesn't, like deep down, it just doesn't feel right, or a friend says, hey, what are you doing? Stop before you take that money opportunity. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, you're doing an out of sign trine with Pluto. That's really nice energy. So again, there could be like this little pile of gold here. And so you have to, though, step cautiously toward it to make sure that it is in line with who you are, your integrity, and how you are moving forward in your life. So don't cut corners during this time, but even when you don't cut corners, you still have some great money opportunities. And then when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be like a paycheck, you are doing Venus conjunct Uranus, and that's fantastic too. But again, with Venus in this particular position at 29 Taurus, you want to be cautious about putting yourself in a situation that you're going to regret later. So therefore, it sometimes is where you might say no and gain more. And so, of course, it's going to vary from situation to situation. But if you feel like saying yes to something puts you in a compromising position or puts you at risk in some way, then it's just better to let that go and let the universe send you something better. Okay, Taurus, this Sagittarius full moon is offering you some resources and opportunities from others. But there's currently 5 planets in Taurus and 2 are at the very last degree of Taurus. And Taurus energy is something you're very familiar with. And that is that with Taurus energy comes the desire for it to be comfortable or easy. And so it is, Taurus, as I talked about in the last video, is like a mountain. And so the mountain doesn't want to move. The mountain technically feels like it cannot move. And so at this point, it is necessary to get ready for a change, to get ready to move, to even just reach for these opportunities, because whatever you're waiting for, you're passing the time where the deadline is passing and you're going to have to do something. You can't continue to stay and wait for this thing. It is necessary for you to move forward. And so look at what you can change right now. That would be ideal. You can do sudden unexpected changes that nobody is around you thinks that you're going to do, or you could just slowly start to get up and gain some momentum. Taurus is fabulous in motion. Once in motion, Taurus stays in motion. But once at rest, it takes a lot of energy to get moving again. And so if you're in that point where you feel like things are not moving, you need to find as much energy as possible to move that needle forward, even the slightest amount, and that will bring you the things that you want. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Mercury is not making an aspect with Venus. However, they are both in Taurus. And so it is like there's someone in your proximity, but maybe you're not noticing them or they're not noticing you. And so if you shift, if you change, you become more noticeable. Any sort of change in the universe is noticeable. And so as you change something about yourself, where you go, what you do, then you become more noticeable. And then I think outside this 2-week period, you could connect. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Venus is making a semi-square to Pluto. A semi-square is a quite irritating aspect, which means that there is something that your partner is saying to you, or you're saying to your partner, that is irritating each other. And so one of the things to consider is if your partner is irritating you in some way, ask yourself if you were doing that thing. Ask yourself if this was me doing it, why am I doing it? What is my motivation around it? What makes sense to me to continue to do this thing that you're finding so irritating? If you can do that, you can shift it to be the other side. What can happen is when you get real insight into what your partner is thinking, but you also may diffuse the energy and eliminate the irritation. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Mercury, which is in your own sign of Taurus. There is such strong Taurus energy right now, which means that as you put yourself out there, you can make more money. The hesitation is putting yourself out there. That there is this desire to hold back until maybe all your ducks are in a row, or until everything's perfect, or until it feels comfortable enough to move forward. And this says, don't wait. just move forward. If you blunder the first one, whatever it is, the pitch, the interview, whatever, the second one will go better, the third one will be better. And so this says just start moving forward. Reach for the opportunities, and then you can grab hold of them. But if you stay in this specific position of waiting, you're not going to get what you want. Now, when it comes to money from business and from investments, Mercury's not making an aspect with Jupiter. However, the full moon is in these houses. So therefore, there is an opportunity. It's like this shining beacon, but you're going to have to do more effort to get it because it's not automatically coming to you. When we have a connection between these energies, then it just seems to flow to us. But right now there's no connection. And so the opportunity is there, and you have to raise your hand and say, I want this opportunity, or you have to submit your application or your, yourself for the opportunity. So you have to push this energy. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, and so that would be like a paycheck, Mercury's not making an aspect with Neptune. And in the previous aspect, I should have said that at least they're in the same sign. In this case, they're not in the same sign and they're not making an aspect. So right now, it is difficult to push your employer forward on getting a raise. Now, if you are looking for a new job and you do show quite a bit of general change in your career, and so that could mean your industry is changing, the company you work for is changing, or new opportunities are popping up all the time. It can be that there is something on the horizon and you need to be looking at what you want. One of the gifts of Taurus is that ability to visualize what it is that you want and manifest it, especially if it's something in the physical world, so something material. So utilize that by writing your goals or saying affirmations, or just visualizing what it is that you want, and then opportunities can appear. Okay, Gemini, you're doing this full moon, lighting up your house of connections and partnerships and collaborations. And so the more people that you meet and connect with, the more opportunities that you have. Now, especially the 29 Taurus energy, that is sitting in your house of spirituality. And so that can, and it's also the unconscious and, like your dreams or nightmares even. And so the energy is that there can be this nagging feeling like, that you're just not okay, or that you're, that little voice inside of you that just says, you're on the wrong path, or it's sowing the seeds of doubt inside of you. And so looking at different ways of dealing with that, of letting go of fears and doubts so that you can move forward, that would be ideal right now. And just, and that can be the most basic thing of, yeah, I'm really afraid, and that's okay. I'm going to do it anyway. To something like doing self-hypnosis or tapping or something like that, or looking at using herbs or other remedies to help you through this. But right now, what this is about is that the little whispers in your head that you're not good enough and all that, they're false. They're not real. And so you need to move past those, even if they do sound like they're you. They're not. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, there's no aspect going on between Mercury and Venus. However, they are in the same sign. So it's someone is near, but this is not quite the right time to meet them. So even if you know who this person is, just put off that first date for a couple of weeks so that we can get out of this energy. Because right now, it's too hard to see someone clearly through what you're going through and what they might be going through. And then when it comes to existing love relationships, Mercury is not making an aspect with Jupiter. Again, they're in the same sign, but But what is good is the full moon is in those houses. So therefore, you do have this big spotlight shining on the things about your relationship, and it's shining into the darkest parts of that relationship to allow you an opportunity to work things out. And you may not get everything worked out over this 2-week period, but you get to see, you know, maybe your own behavior and how your partner's reacting to it, or vice versa. And so make a note of that, because then later you can work on this, you know, either, you know, through communication or by changing something that you're doing. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that moon in that house of partnerships, collaborations, and mentors and teachers. And so this is a time where someone could approach you and say, here is the opportunity. And you're struggling perhaps with that little bit of self-doubt. Like, is this going to be too hard? Am I capable of it? Do I have enough energy? Do I have enough resources, etc.? So this is a time to maybe push some of those aside to say, I'm going to try, because you could get a helping hand from somebody to guide you through some new money-making opportunity. But if you doubt, you're not even going to reach for that hand. Now, when it comes to money derived from business or investments, the moon's not making an aspect with Saturn. Saturn's quite elevated in this chart, which means that your reputation is quite important now. And since the moon is lighting up the house of relationships and connections, again, reputation would be important. So think in terms of that when you are looking at what you're going to invest in or how you're explaining your business. Do it with the highest integrity, and you know, make sure that when you post something that you are posting something that is true to you, and that's going to help you make more money. But right now, because there's no aspect, you're making about the same as usual. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be like a paycheck, you have some planets in that area, plus the moon's making a sesquiquadrate to Mars, which happens to be in that house. Now, a sesquiquadrate is kind of a mixed bag. It is an opportunity that comes with some sort of obligation or difficulty. So I always picture that there was this game that you could play at the carnival where you would bounce a ping pong ball, and if it landed in the little bowl, you would win a fish. And they would give you a little plastic bag with some water and a fish in it. And then for the rest of the carnival, you were carrying around a little fish, you know, and you're thinking, oh, now I have to buy a bowl and food and all of this. So you won, but it comes with obligations and responsibilities, and it can make it less fun. And so if you are trying to go for a raise right now, it's going to be this kind of package deal. So you may want to wait until outside this 2-week period before pursuing a raise. Okay, Cancer, you are doing this full moon, lighting up your energy of routines and your health and well-being, and, you know, working with colleagues and how you get through your day. And the stuck energy of the 29 Taurus is sitting in your house of friendships. Now, you know, Cancer, you're a sensitive soul, and when somebody hurts you, you can remember it for a very long time. And so there can be some connection with a friend or colleague that has hurt you in the past, and it is time to let it go. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they're off the hook, right? But it means that you don't have to carry around the pain anymore. And so look to where you feel that you've been wronged, where people have hurt you, whether intentionally or accidentally, and see what you can do to let that go, because that is going to overall help your health and well-being and your daily life. I would also suggest too that with this placement that you may feel a little blinded when it comes to a friendship. And so somebody in your life may be steering you down the wrong path or draining your energy or in some other way not benefiting you. And you might realize that when you leave them and feel more tired than you should, or more depressed or something like that. And maybe that friendship needs to come to an end. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the moon's making a sextile to Pluto. You have an opportunity to meet someone for a love relationship during this time. I just want to say, though, remember, if there are friends already, that's where your blindness spot is. And so you might want to, wait till after that energy clears outside this 2-week period before you move forward on something like that. But if this is someone brand new, you do have an opportunity for a love relationship during this time. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, there's no aspect going on between Moon and Saturn. So the two of you are just moving forward with your lives. You're still together, and, the things that bother you still exist, and the things you're happy about still exist. There's not a lot of work you're putting into this relationship right now because the focus is elsewhere. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from the sun, which is sitting in the house of things outside of your control. And so what that means is to recognize that when you're setting your goals and when you are setting out to do something, to focus on the things that you do have within your control. So, for example, you can control maybe how much you post on social media, but you cannot control how many people follow you. You can perhaps control the fact that you are sending your screenplay out for people to read it, but you can't control whether they do read it. So measure your success by the things that are within your control, and that's what's going to shift the needle the most for you during this time. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, the sun is not making an aspect to Uranus, nor is it making an aspect with Saturn. And so you're making about the same as usual. There are some changes that are going to be happening, in the markets and all that. Well, of course, there's going to be changes in the markets, and overall, this is a dragon year. And so a dragon year means things go up and down, but they're kind of stair-stepping up right now. And so right now, when it comes to the investments and things like that, stay the course, but look and keep your eyes open for changes happening outside this 2-week period. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be like a paycheck, you have 4 planets in that house. That's a lot. So you've got a lot of energy in this area. Plus, the sun is making an out-of-sign conjunction with Venus. Now, an out-of-sign conjunction means that it's not quite as obvious. You will not, you may get a big perk from your job and not see that it's a perk. Maybe they give you a project and you go, yay, I have more work. But it turns out that it's a project you can easily do and it's highly visible, and that catapults you to something better. So there's something positive happening at the job, but you also have that Jupiter and Venus at 29 Taurus there. So make sure that you also let go of anything that is keeping you stuck or keeping you too comfortable. Okay, Leo, this full moon in Sagittarius is quite harmonious with your own energy, but having these planets in Taurus, especially at 29 degrees Taurus, can be challenging for you because it's asking you to make some sort of change, and you're already fixed energy, and so you like to change on your own schedule. And so this is something where it may feel like it's not time to make a change, but it actually is. And all of this Taurus energy is very elevated in your chart. It's up in your house of career. And so therefore, the first step may be looking at saying, how is my industry changing? How is my company changing? And then coming down and chunking down to how could my job change, or what kind of changes could I make in my job? Because if you are feeling comfortable and you're feeling safe and secure, that is risky right now when it comes to your career. And of course, it doesn't mean that something's going to happen within this 2-week period. It just means that you have an opportunity to break loose a little bit and start some momentum towards a direction. And if you don't over this next 2 weeks, then you could be stuck much longer than you want or than is beneficial. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the Sun's making an out-of-sign conjunction with Jupiter. And that means that there is an opportunity to meet someone for a love relationship, but it's not so obvious. Because it's an out-of-sign conjunction, it's that you may not have considered this person before, or maybe they hadn't considered you, and so a conversation gets things going, or you discover something about a person, and then you make a connection, and so the opportunity is there, but again, it may not be right there in front of you. You have to look around a little. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the Sun's not making an aspect with Uranus, nor is it making an aspect with Saturn. So your relationship is just moving along as it has been, and so your focus seems to be elsewhere. So that means that it's difficult right now for the two of you to work out any sort of big issues or to come together for anything big, like if you were, say, deciding on where you're going to live together or something like that. It takes a lot of extra effort, or it takes what's going on in their chart, because in your chart, your focus is elsewhere. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Mercury, which is quite elevated in your chart, which means that if you put your words out there, if you put your voice out into the world, you are seen and therefore can make more money. Now, that can be anything from sending out a resume to doing marketing to going out on like a book tour or something, like anything where your words, your voice is heard, then you are seen and you could then attract more money. So by the way, if you are looking for a new job, this could be a good time to, put out your resume and all of that, because you are more visible at this time. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, Mercury is not making an aspect with Neptune, nor is it making an aspect with Jupiter. In fact, Mercury is making hardly any aspects in this chart, which means that it's a little bit tough right now to get the actual paycheck, to get the actual money. So like people might say, I'm going to place an order, but they don't actually place the order quite yet. Or they place the order, but they don't have to pay for 30 days. Or something is delaying the actual getting your hands on the cash right now. Now, that doesn't mean you're making less. I think you're making about the same as usual, but there are bigger prospects that are going to happen outside this 2-week period. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that's like a paycheck, as I said, Mercury is not making a lot of aspects. I had to check. It is making a semi-sextile to Mars. So there is an opportunity to talk to somebody in authority in your company and plant the seeds for getting something better. In fact, you might even be able to get a raise during this 2-week period. You want to be a little bit careful because we have Jupiter and Venus at late degrees of Taurus. So you might be thinking to move on, and then they give you a raise, and then you feel obligated to stay. So there might be a little bit of a mixed bag here, but if you were already planning to stay, you could gain more money during this 2-week period through a raise, a bonus, or some other perk. Okay, Virgo, you're doing this full moon energy lighting up your foundation area, and that is the things in your life that you have built the rest of your life on. And these might be things that you know from childhood or brought in from past lives, or that you have built brick by brick that you stand on now. And then all of that Taurus energy, that late degree Taurus of being stuck or being too comfortable, is in the area of beliefs and philosophies. And so it kind of reminds me of, the best question to ask the wise man on the mountain. And so if you went to climb up the mountain and you say, what's the best question I could ask you? The wise man would say, it is to question the things that you wouldn't think to question in your life. And that's what this is about, is you may take some things at face value, or you take something because it's always been, and because of that you don't question it, and that causes you to miss the opportunities. And it could be something as simple as, I can't apply for a job that I don't have the degree for. Why not apply? Maybe you have the experience, and maybe there's a connection that they see, or that they suddenly say, well, I'm going to change the parameters of this job, but they just haven't done it yet. So, it is, what can you question that you didn't think to question before? That's the energy here, and that's where you can get the breakthrough. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Mercury's not making an aspect with Saturn, and it just feels like your mind is elsewhere, and so someone may be, right by you saying, hey, I want to go out with you, but it's hard for you to see right now. And with a lot of this late degree energy, it probably is better that you just let go and wait for someone brand new anyway, because the possibility is that this person who's in front of you trying to get you to go out with them is just a repeat of something you've done in the past and going to lead to the same results you had before. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Mercury's not making an aspect with Neptune, nor is it making an aspect with Jupiter. But Mercury and Jupiter are at least in the same sign. So it's that your partner may show you something about yourself. You might say, oh, they're doing this, it really irritates me, but I guess I do it too. But there's not a lot you can do, especially to change your partner at this time. So focus on changing yourself and, approaching the relationship differently. And then outside this 2-week period, you may see some changes in the relationship. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Venus, which is sitting at 29 Taurus, and it is stuck. It is stuck and needs to change. It needs to do something different. And so to make more money in your life, and I'll tell you, Taurus is very, very good at attracting money and resources. And so if you want more money in your life, if you're trying to get something, you have to do something different. And this being in your house of wisdom and knowledge, you know what that thing is. And it may be picking up the phone and asking for the sale, or letting go of the idea that you need a degree, or that you have to go a certain path or buy a certain course or something like that. This is to say you have to shift outside of the comfort zone, and that's where the money is. Now, when it comes to money derived from business or investments, Venus is making a semi-square to Mars, and a semi-square is an irritating aspect that feels like something's hard. It just grates on you. It feels stressful. And if you move towards the stress, if you move towards the harder thing, that's where the riches are. And so you go and do the harder thing, and that might be looking at all your statements, doing the analysis, redoing your website, something that you're resisting doing. If you do that thing, that's where the money is. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be like a paycheck, the moon's making an out-of-sign opposition to Venus. So that is that you have what you want and your boss has what they want, but it doesn't feel like there's a point of compromise between the two of you until somebody says, oh, wait, this is what you're asking for. And since I'm talking to you and not your boss, you have to kind of see things from your boss's perspective and make it a little bit easier for them to connect the dots to give you more money. And I know that sounds like a lot of hurdles, and you may just want to wait outside this 2-week period until this energy lines up better. But if you want to do it during this time, or if you're already in negotiations, you want to take it from your boss's perspective and, state the things that they're probably objecting to, or that their boss is going to object to, and deal with those things, making those adjustments, and that can help you then come to an agreement. Okay, Libra, you're doing this full moon, lighting up this area of ideas and activities and connections with people in your community. And so you have support right there. But where we see all of this Taurus energy and the Jupiter and Venus specifically at 29 degrees of Taurus is in the area of financial resources. And that indicates that You may feel quite comfortable with the amount of resources that you have, but something there is coming to an end. And so maybe that is some of the access you had to resources, or that you were just feeling a little complacent, like, hey, the market keeps going up and I keep making more money. And so this is a time to look to say to yourself, all right, if things weren't this comfortable, what would I do about it? Or if a resource is drying up, to go and actively work to squeeze as much out of that resource as you can, because it may be going away. And resources can be all different things. Maybe it's somebody offering you credit at a low price, or there is an opportunity for you to collaborate with someone who's going to put some money in. Like, it just says, you either need to work on that thing in a shorter amount of time, or just say it's not going to happen anymore and move on, so that you can then grab other resources. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, you have a very strong house of relationships. Your house of intimacy is lit up, and Venus is making a conjunction with Uranus. So if you are looking for love, like, this is a 2-week period where you could meet someone for a love relationship. So if you skip the other times, make an effort during this time and, connect with others, try to have a first date. If you do, you could make a great connection. Now, when it comes to your existing love relationship, Venus is making a semi-square to Mars. And so there is a point of contention between the two of you that maybe was slightly irritating before, but is growing in irritation. And so you may want to sit down with your partner, and it might be difficult right at the beginning, but you can hash this out. Some of this friction that's happening is just the hesitation of working it out, of bringing it up even. And so if you can just sit down and talk it through, again, it's going to be difficult at the beginning. Maybe there'll be some denial, or the other person says they don't want to change, but you can get to a point where you find a resolution because you have an aspect. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from both Pluto, which is still working its way through your house of risk-taking and creativity, as well as at Mars, which is in your house of relationships, connections, and collaborations. And so focusing on that for a second, that is about meeting more people and making more connections, and just finding out what you can do for others, and then, through that law of reciprocation, they're going to do something for you. So basically, the more people you meet during this 2-week period, the more seeds you plant for financial abundance in the future. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, Venus is making an out-of-sign trine to Pluto. There is opportunities to make more money over this 2 weeks. They may not be the most obvious. And so that might mean that you have to do something like thinking out of the box a little bit on how your investments could make more money for you. Maybe there's some extra thing you can do, or certainly in your business, maybe it's like selling a side package or an upsell or something like that, that brings you this extra money and then opens up perhaps a future revenue source. And then when it comes to money from your career, so that would be like a paycheck, the sun's making a trine to Pluto. Again, this is, oh no, that's not an out of sign trine. That is an in sign trine. That is awesome. So you also have a good, strong house of resources. So this is the time to talk to your supervisor about, when you could get a raise, what is needed to make sure that that manifests, or to talk about other perks that you want, anything from a work at home position to more stock options or a 401k match or something like that. More opportunity is there. So this is a good time to speak to your supervisor about that. Okay, Scorpio, this full moon's lighting up your house of resources, well, no, money, money and possessions, as well as your sense of deserving, and that might give you some insight into how to shift to a place of feeling more deserving to allow more opportunities and money to come to you. Now, where Jupiter and Venus are at that very late degrees of Taurus, where you might be overly comfortable, is in your house of relationships, partnerships, and collaborations. And so there may be a relationship that needs to end, and that you have realized that it's just too comfortable, and that is causing you maybe to lose energy in some way, or to feel like you're both through a lack of momentum, just kind of sitting on the sofa together, not moving forward, not spiritually, not intellectually, not emotionally. And so this also can mean maybe the relationship doesn't have to change, but some aspect of how you relate to others has to change. So that's where you may also feel rather resistant, because you're a fixed sign and this is a lot of fixed energy. And so you may be trying to wait it out and see if the other person will change first. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Pluto's making an out-of-sign sextile to Neptune, plus your house of relationship is very strong right now. So there is a real opportunity to meet someone new for a love relationship. And you could even meet more than one person because the energy is so strong right now. So if you've been thinking that you want to meet someone, this is the time to say, okay, let's have a first date, or let's have a phone conversation, let's meet for coffee. And you could meet someone for a love relationship. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Venus is making an out-of-sign trine to Pluto. And again, strong relationship houses. So you have the ability to get closer in your partnership, to work something out together, to have a clearer picture of you because of the reflection your partner is giving you, or to have some other benefits come because the two of you are together. So you have really good energy around your love relationship right now. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Jupiter at 29 Taurus, and that means that some sort of possible collaboration or connection with a partner is ending. At least the form of it is ending. And if you will end it, it will actually benefit both of you going forward. So this is, it could be something as simple as looking at your client list and saying, who should I fire as a client? Who is draining all my energy and all my resources, and who just needs to go see someone else? Or this may be a business partnership situation where the two of you are stubbornly holding out on something where you need to either together say, we're going to end this business venture, or that you're going to say, we're going to change this partnership. So look at what you can change and what relationship you can change, because that's where it's really strongest. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, even though Jupiter's not making an aspect with Mercury, this is where the full moon is. So there are some opportunities. You have a big spotlight on those opportunities right now. You may be a little distracted by other things going on, and so that can cause you to miss some of the opportunities. So put them in your schedule or write them on your list of things to do, to check your statements or to check some business opportunities, because it is there. But again, you could be just distracted and thinking about other things. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be like a paycheck, it's not you so much that is distracted, but your supervisor or the company itself. The company may be going through something, and it could be deadlines are up, or there's some sort of merger happening or something like that, but it's challenging to sit down with your supervisor now to get the raise, to do that. So if they can't meet with you, just say, that's fine, just wait outside the 2-week period. This energy will line up better in the future. Okay, Sagittarius, this is your full moon, which means that you are now entering your harvest period. You started your lunar year 6 months ago, and so all the things that you have been doing over the last 6 months, now you can start to really harvest that energy. So, and that means that you could be very busy because during a harvest time, there are lots of opportunities, but you need to grab them quickly. So now if you feel your harvest is small, that is because of the seed you planted over the previous 6 months. And so that means you have to work all the harder to get things done and get things going. So, and that means that you might, from a farming standpoint, you might have to say to the next farmer, hey, I'm going to help harvest your crops too for some extra cash. So that's just to keep aware right now that now you're in this harvest period. And so some of the things are going to be easier, but it is still a lot of work and effort because it's a harvest time. Now, where we see that Jupiter and Venus at late degree Taurus, where you might be stuck or where you might be too comfortable, is in your area of daily routines. And this says that something you're doing on a daily basis is really not benefiting you in the long run, that it is making you feel stuck, or it is actually causing a deterioration in your health, well-being, or in how you can prosper. So this is to look at what habits you can let go of, and it's going to be hard to do because at 29 Taurus, it just feels comfortable to do what we've been doing. And so look at what you can change. The fortunate thing for you, Sagittarius, is you do like change. You embrace change. So look at what you can change incrementally, the smallest little things, because those add up to something great in the future. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, even though Mars is not making an aspect with Jupiter, Mars is in that house, and the full moon is lighting up relationships for you. So there's some real opportunities there. And that may be that you just need to push it a little bit. Or so you might listen to a friend who tells you there's somebody who's asking you out, or maybe a friend or family member wants to fix you up with someone. This could be the time to say, all right, I will meet this new person. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, even though Mercury's not making an aspect with Jupiter, that, again, is where the full moon energy is. So there is some things that you can connect with your partner on a deeper level. But the issue is that maybe it's the two of you doing something where you're in a routine, you're stuck, repeating a same behavior over and over. And it's just because it's so comfortable, it's digging a groove that later is going to be hard to climb out of. So looking at your love relationship and trying to elevate it right now to make it better by putting in a little bit more time and attention could be beneficial, but I don't think you're going to receive the results of that during the 2-week period. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Saturn, which is not actually making a lot of aspects in this chart, which can mean that you either feel quite isolated in what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish financially, or that you don't feel that you're getting a lot of support. Now, there is almost a perfect semi-sextile to Mars, and Mars, well, Mars is action, but the semi-sextile energy is like feeling like you have the resources, but you don't quite know what to do with them. And so that can be that someone says, yeah, oh, I know what you could do with your business, but you're not really feeling that that's right for your business. And so it may take a little effort to see how that could fit together for you, or that you are holding back because, family obligations and things like that, even though one of your friends is saying, come do a business with me. And you're thinking, do I even have time? So there is some opportunities here, but it is more just kind of do a little meditation on what you're resistant about your business. Maybe write down a list of all the things you don't want to do with your business, and then or to make money, and you may find, this is the trigger, this is the thing that's been holding me back, and then you can find your way through it. Now, when it comes to money derived from business or from investments, the moon's not making an aspect with Saturn. And so you're making about the same as usual. However, this does show that if you can adjust your daily routines, then you have the potential to make much more, not within the 2-week period, but outside that 2-week period. So this is a time to look at what you can shift on a daily basis, and it might take you 30 seconds a day or something like that, but it will build and compound over time. And then when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be like a paycheck, Venus is not making an aspect with Saturn. And so right now, asking for a raise is probably not going to get you very far. If you are already in negotiations, you may just want to kind of expand them out outside the 2-week period, because this energy will line up in the future. But right now, it is more likely you would get more work rather than more money. Or if you did get more money, the amount of extra work wouldn't compute. So it would be best to just cool your heels and wait till this energy lines up better in the future. Okay, Capricorn, this full moon in Sagittarius is a reminder that some of the spiritual practices done on a daily basis can really grow into something powerful. And that might be a prayer or an affirmation or lighting a candle or doing some feng shui. But doing it on a regular basis, even a daily basis, builds the energy, helps build your confidence, helps attract opportunities and more. And so this is a reminder that if you stop doing that, to go back to doing that. Now, at the same time, Jupiter and Venus are at that very late degrees of Taurus, and they are sitting in your house of creativity and risk-taking. And what I'm thinking is that you may have been tolerating a risk. Maybe you have some leverage investments, or maybe your business is running with high debt, or there may be something where even outside of business, maybe, like you're having a relationship that maybe is not something you can broadcast or something like that. You're taking a chance, a risk on something that you should not be doing anymore. That the end of the risks need to happen. So that is, think about where you are rolling the dice on a regular basis and just move away from that crap table. So that is, look at where you're taking unnecessary risks and stop. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, even though Venus is not making an aspect with Saturn, that area is really filled with energy right now. So it's quite possible you're surrounded by people who want to go out with you, but you're not really seeing it, or you're too busy, or they're not really your type. And so it can feel like also that all the world has love and you don't, and yet other people are seeing that love is all around you. So this can be that you are a little bit blind to the possibilities around you. Or the other is that you are blindly going forward in a relationship that you know deep down is not going to work, or that they're already caught up in some sort of drama or something like that. So overall, the energy here is pretty mixed, and so you may want to wait a little bit before you go out on a first date. Then when it comes to existing love relationships, the moon's not making an aspect with Saturn. So again, we have this, like, it's hard for the two of you to come together on one page right now, because you're quite focused on your stuff and they're quite focused on their stuff. You do have an enormous amount of energy, around home, family, and children right now. And so it's almost like there's so much to do that you can't work on the relationship. There are so many things that you have to take care of, just feeding the kids or getting the house ready or moving or something like that, that you don't have time to even consider your partner. And right now, that's okay. You need to do the tasks in front of you. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money both from Saturn, which is in your house of knowledge and ideas, as well as that Uranus, which is part of this whole Taurus configuration of, looking at how things look like they're not going to change and they're about to change. And so consider that maybe initially when you were thinking about these money-making ventures, you thought of the upside and the downside, but over time, you forget about the downside. And so this is a time to look and say to yourself, if something unexpected happened, am I going to be okay? And I know that's kind of vague, but because we don't know how big the unexpected could happen. But if you could say to yourself, all right, I want to make sure that I'm protected on the downside. And that could be, a job or investments. In other words, if you are leveraged short right now, that could be a really risky position. If you are even leveraged long right now, that is a risky predicament because the leverage part. So this is look at minimizing risk, and then things will go much better. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, I think you're making about the same as usual. The sun's not making an aspect with Uranus, nor is it making an aspect with Saturn. I think that this is a time, as I was saying before, is look at where your finances are at risk and see what you can do to mitigate that. That might be through insurance or, just more savings. But looking at that, that's going to bring you more benefits. But overall, in business and investments, I think you're making about the same as usual. Now, when it comes to money from career, and so that would be like a paycheck, Mars is, I have to check. Mars is making a semi-sextile to Saturn. Saturn's making a sextile to Uranus, and Mars is making a semi-sextile to Uranus. And so all of that adds up to pretty good energy for getting something done. There's some slight irritations, maybe trying to get together with your boss, maybe your schedules aren't working too well. But once you get together, there is an opportunity to get more money from your career. And so that can mean a bonus or better commission percentage or actual raise. So there is an opportunity here, and so you may want to pursue it. Okay, Aquarius, this full moon is lighting up this area in your life about thinking about the future. And that can be short-term and long-term future. It's about hopes and wishes and the possibilities that can occur. And there are so many possibilities. There's so many opportunities out there for, doing different things and different lifestyles and, making changes. And you're the sign of change. And so that can go pretty well. Where we see the stuck energy of Jupiter conjunct Venus in late degrees of Taurus is in the area of home and family. And of course, the most obvious is that some of your family members, they're not going to change. That's it. They're just not going to change. And so you may have to move on and go do what you want to do. And then, they can try and catch up if they want. This may also be something around your home. Maybe it is time to sell your place or just to move. Maybe this is that you are saying to yourself, okay, my dream of home ownership's not going to happen. And so therefore I'm going to move on from that and find another way of creating the life that I want, and that makes sense, in these extreme rising prices, which, by the way, prices that go up, prices will go down at some point. So it may be a time where you just say, you know what, I'm not going to buy a home right now. I'm just going to save my money and invest in other ways. And then when the prices come down, you'll be ready. So there is something, though, around home and family to end or let go of. And if you do, then you get the benefits. But if you don't, you get stuck. And Aquarius hates to be stuck. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Mercury is not making an aspect with Uranus. And Mercury is making hardly any aspects in this chart. And so that means that your focus is elsewhere. So, and looking at the chart, even though the moon is elevated and that means you can be seen, you don't feel like you're seen. You feel very focused on your own stuff. You're going to the grocery store with blinders on. When you get your coffee, you're not really looking around. And that's okay. You can experience some times where you don't have to be always looking for opportunities, especially in love. So now the plus here, though, is that the sun, which is part of the full moon, is lighting up that house. So it's possible somebody is knocking on your door saying, please go out with me. But it may take a family member or friend to say, hey, that person just asked you out. So just keep that in mind if you are looking. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the sun's not making an aspect with Uranus. And it looks like, though, there's so much energy going on at home that if in your existing love relationship you live with this person, there's definitely some changes going on, but it's hard for you to come to some agreement with your partner. So it may be that you have to make a change and then they're going to make a change independent of what you do. So, or that you're making a change and they're staying stuck, and that's just going to be the way it is, at least for now. So it's hard to come together to agree on something when there's not an aspect. But as I said, lots of energy at home. So if you live with a person, go ahead and make some changes. Go ahead and let go of some aspects of your life, and that can be physical stuff or a habit or, a routine. Like that's different than a habit. So, but as you do that, then you may see your partner shift, but it's difficult to say to your partner, please change, because there's no aspect going on at this time. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Neptune, which is in your house of money at 29 Pisces. And so something is changing about your money, and it's pulling money from Jupiter in Taurus at 29 degrees. And so there is definitely something that is ending, that is passing away when it comes to your money. And so that could be a revenue stream is drying up, or that it is just going through some sort of alteration and coming from a new source. This could also be, though, and this is probably stronger energy, that there is something that you have brought forward from childhood or from younger years that is holding you back, an idea, a limiting belief that is keeping you stuck. And maybe it's that you have an upper limit on what you think you can earn, or that you can't earn more than your parents earned, or that you were told things as a child and now are manifesting those things even though those aren't really true. So it's really important to look at those attitudes, especially things that you've brought forward from years ago, and see what you can let go of so that you can then see the new opportunities for money. Now, when it comes to money from business or money from investments, Mercury is not making an aspect with Neptune, nor is it making an aspect with Jupiter. So you're making around the same as usual. But like I said, there is something that is going through an ending. And so if it ends during this 2-week period, which it may not, because Neptune's going to be at 29 for a while, but it's almost like, you're intuitive enough to see there's writing on the wall. So, be aware that if you think something might be ending, it could be. But this means that you have lots of runway so that you can find where you're going to land and to a new income source or a new investments or things like that. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, it is a whole different story. And that, by the way, is the paycheck. And that is that Jupiter is making a sextile to Neptune. And it's an exact sextile. So there is a last minute opportunity here over this 2 weeks to suggest to your boss that you need a raise. Additionally, the full moon is in that house, so that is lighting that up. And so if you've been toying with the idea, really consider sitting down with your boss and saying, I really want to raise. How do I make this happen? How do we get me more money for what I'm doing? That's your opportunity at this time. Okay, Pisces, this full moon is right at the top of your chart. It is causing you to be very noticeable at this time, even though the majority of the planets are below the horizon, and so you don't necessarily want to be seen. But your actions are quite noticeable, which can help you in career and other areas of your life. Now, the Neptune, which rules Pisces, is at this 29 degree. Now, this is a long transit. So originally Neptune went into Pisces back in 2011. It went into your own sign. And so you were Pisces and then you were really Pisces. And it's going to stay, you know, like it's going to go retrograde and then go forward again, but it won't leave Pisces until March of 2025. So you still have some time here, but you may not want to, because when Neptune goes into Aries, you're going to feel much more energy and much more focus, etc. But you need this time right now to really solidify, as much as Neptune and Pisces can do, of your spiritual sense, your spiritual routines, your connection to the higher forces, and to understand who you are. I mean, this Neptune and Pisces gives you access to your unconscious and your subconscious desires. So it gives you access to your hidden talents. And so you do want to continue to explore those. Now, where we see that Jupiter and Venus at a late degree of Taurus, that is in your house of ideas. That is that you're stuck on some old ideas. You need to look at some new ideas. And, you know, it's very challenging in this day and age with the algorithms that continue to pump us the same information over and over again. It gives us the idea that YouTube only has a couple of types of videos. And it's very hard to get it to show us more stuff. But if you can let go of an idea, and this could be a core idea that you've had for ages, but that you just say, oh, wait a minute, maybe that's not true. Maybe that's actually holding me back. When you do that, the whole world opens up. So Venus, of course, is going to go into Gemini and get past this point in just a day. Jupiter is going to take a little longer. And as I said, Neptune will be out of Pisces in March of 2025. So this is going to be kind of a stair-step sort of energy. But the bottom line here is that you have an opportunity to make a really beneficial change. It's not going to feel comfortable. It's about thinking something new, and that's going to open up a whole world. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the moon is making a lovely out-of-sign trine to Neptune. That means there is an opportunity to meet someone new. Not surprising, because the moon is very elevated in your chart. You're very visible at this time. And so someone may come up to you and say they want to go out with you. If you are on dating sites, they may, you know, text you or wink at you or whatever the convention is for that site. But there are some opportunities here to meet someone for a love relationship. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Mercury is not making an aspect with Neptune. It's hard to do something different in your relationship. It's more like you're changing, and that might ripple into the relationship outside the 2-week period. But right now, it's very difficult to say to your partner, I wish you would change this, because it's likely they're not going to change. So look to make your own changes and then see the results outside the 2-week period. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Mars, which is in your house of money, which means that there are money opportunities right in front of you. And it's making a semi-sextile to Saturn in your own sign of Pisces, which means that you don't feel necessarily so confident about doing those things. Or if we look at that Jupiter-Venus conjunction at 29 Taurus, your ideas are that, that it's dangerous to go do that, or that it's so comfortable where you are, why would you want to take on all of that extra stuff? And so this Mars is right here. It's like the horse ready to run, and yet the jockey is saying, I don't know, and he's actually in another room watching TV. So if you can be aware of those issues and do what you can do to move forward on this, you really could start and connect with some money-making opportunity over this next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, Venus is making a semi-square to Mars, which means that if you go and do the irritating thing, you will make money. And so think of what it is in your business or in your investments that is kind of hard to do. And maybe that's just like cold calls, or doing the analysis of the prospectus, or reading all of the stuff about the different investments and weighing the possibility. Like, do the hard stuff. That's where the money is during this next 2 weeks. And then when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be like a paycheck, Mars is making the semi-sextile to Saturn. And so a semi-sextile is that there is this opportunity, you've got the resources there, but it's very hard to really utilize it. Like, it's like almost like being hungry for a cake and you've got flour and sugar and eggs, but you got to make the cake, you know, like it's just, so, and that's the energy around right now getting a raise. It feels like it's that you've got all of the ingredients, you just don't know how to put it together. That may not be the strongest, well, it's definitely not the strongest energy. And this energy will line up better in the future. It's going to take a couple of months. And so if that timeline's too long, you may want to use this energy now to plant the seed. But otherwise, if you're in it for the long haul, maybe wait until you get that nice sextile energy in a couple of months. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you are interested in learning more about your chart and what is ahead for you in the future, remember, I do readings. There's a link in the description, and I will see you in the next video.